What's up? Rob Gronkowski of the New England Patriots tight end, superstar tight end, retired. And a lot of people have a debate on who's the best tight end. It's been a lot of people saying that Gronkowski has been the best tight end, and they've been talking about that for the last 3 or 4 years that he's the best. Um, he's a really good tight end. The one thing I do like about Rob Gronkowski, he does block. You know what I'm saying? And to me, when I was growing up, tight ends were put in the game. Yes, they did catch some passes here and there, but they were in there mostly to run block because power run block, and you had back then running the football was of the utmost in the essence of a football. So tight ends were more in that run blocking category. And Rob Gronkowski, he does both very well. He's a big tight end. He's what 6'5", 275, something like that. So he's a big guy. But I was recently just going over the tight ends. I don't know who's the best tight end ever, right? But I just know the tight ends I've seen with my own eyes. Now I know a lot of people say Kellen Winslow was a great tight end. I didn't get to see him play. I know he played in the '70s and the '80s. By the time I started watching football, he was already retired. Not junior, but senior. Kellen Winslow senior. We all know he had a son that came out of the University of Miami and played in the early 2000s. But I remember seeing the documentary about Mike Dicker, the former coach of the Chicago Bears, former Chicago Bear tight end, former Dallas Cowboy tight end. I'm a Chicago Bears fan. You know what I'm saying, from way back. The first really football game I ever watched was the '85 Super Bowl between the Bears and the Patriots. So that was my introduction into football, and that was what, '85, '86. I really didn't start really looking at football just really looking at football from every Sunday until like '89, '90. I really didn't really know about looking at football with an educated eye to about, I say, 95, somewhere up in there. So I've been around the Bears, and I know a lot of history about the Chicago Bears. But Mike Dicker was one of the first prototype pass catching tight ends, and that was back in the '60s. That was back in the '50s and the '60s. You know what I'm saying? And he's not the first pass catching tight end, but he was the one. He was the first dominant pass catching tight end. He was a great tight end back in his day, but I didn't get to see him. You know what I'm saying? I just seen documentaries and him telling his story about how good of a tight end he was, and other people talking about Mike Dicker. But my era started like with the first really good tight end I can remember growing up seeing was Brent Jones for the San Francisco 49ers, when the San Francisco 49ers were so dominant in the '80s and the early '90s. They had Jerry Rice, they had Roger Craig, they had Ronnie Lott, they had John Taylor, they had Joe Montana, and that's when I knew about now Brent Jones. He didn't catch a lot of passes like players like Shannon Sharp and Antonio Gates and stuff like that. He was that prototypical run block because, like I said, back then running was of the essence, not passing the ball really. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people did pass the ball back then. When you passed for 300 yards, you really did something. Now everybody passing for 300 yards. You know what I'm saying? 300 passing for 300 yards is normal now. I remember when quarterbacks was passing for 300 yards, Warren Moon, Joe Montana, Jim Kelly, all them guys was passing for 300 yards. It was a big it was a big thing. You really did something. Jim Everett from the Rams, but now it's normal. But yeah, Brent Jones, I believe he got 3 Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? If you want to go by the numbers and stuff like that, yeah, Rob Gronkowski, he got. I believe they say he's 1 and 2 in almost every category of the tight ends, and he got 3 Super Bowls himself. He probably, what I'm saying, they probably could have had another one. Rob Gronkowski did get hurt. He has been hurt his last 3 or 4 years in the NFL. But yeah, Antonio Gates was a good one for me. Shannon Sharp, like I said, Brent Jones, um, Jason Witten was a good tight end. Uh, Tony Gonzalez was a good tight end, but my preference is Shannon Sharp. I always thought Shannon Sharp. I mean, Ozzie Newsome. I didn't get to see Ozzie Newsome play, but when he retired, he had just about all the tight end records. And if I'm not mistaken, Shannon Sharp broke almost all his tight end records, and then Tony Gonzalez and Rob Gronkowski. I believe Rob Gronkowski, broke a lot of Shannon Sharp records. So, and Shannon Sharp himself got 3 Super Bowls. We know Shannon Sharp played for Denver. He got 2 with Denver, and he got 1 with Baltimore Ravens. That's when Baltimore Ravens had that great defense with Ray Lewis and those guys, Rod Woodson. What's my guy name? The safety. I'll think of his name in a minute, but they had some really great defense. And Shannon Sharp was like him and Jamal, what's his name, the running back. But that's the only offense they had. I mean, I know they had Trent Dilfer, that quarterback. So, and that was when Shannon Sharp was in later in his career. But Shannon Sharp was tremendous. And people don't realize Shannon Sharp used to be a wide receiver. They turned him into a tight end. He used to be a wide receiver because he said when he first came in the league, he was a wide receiver. He said Mike Shanahan, his coach at the time, came to him and said, we want to put you at tight end. Shannon Sharp did not want to go to tight end. He wanted to be a receiver because he wanted to get the ball a lot because they know the receivers get the ball a lot. And Shannon Sharp was in that era still where they were running the ball, but they were moving towards passing the ball a little bit more. Then when Brent Jones was playing, they were moving towards passing the ball. That's when Antonio Gates emerged and all them guys. So Shannon Sharp came at a sweet time in football, and he caught a lot of passes, had a lot of big plays. If I have to say pick one, now the most real well-rounded probably was Rob Gronkowski. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to say as far as speed and all that, I'm gonna go with Shannon Sharp. I'm gonna say I have to say Shannon Sharp was, to me, my opinion, is the best tight end that I seen. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Antonio Gates was another good one. You know what I'm saying? He played with the San Diego Chargers. You know what I'm saying? In the mid 2000s when they were dominant. I mean, they couldn't really win nothing, but San Diego back then the Chargers always had won like 11, 12, 13 games. You know what I'm saying? We all know they had Marty Schottenheimer as a coach. They had LT LaDainian Thompson as the running back. They had Drew Brees early in his career. Drew Brees hurt his shoulder. That's when they moved to Phillip Rivers, and they had that San Diego Chargers team was a great team. It's just every year in the playoffs they had an injury. I know LaDainian Thompson 2 years in a row he had an injury in the playoffs, so they just could not get over the hump. But that was a great team. Antonio Gates put up some big numbers. Antonio Gates is still playing right now today. So and Jason Witten just came back. You know what I'm saying? Jason Witten is in that mode of that Brent Jones mode where he's a good run blocker and he catches the ball. He's not really fast, just like Brent Jones wasn't really fast, but they were very effective and they made big plays. Jason Witten made big plays. I mean, he's coming back this year. I don't know how he's going to do when he come back, but he's coming back this year. But yeah, that's my preference on best tight end. I mean, I only can speak about the ones I've seen. I mean, you can go by the numbers and say, yeah, Rob Gronkowski is the best. You just want to go purely by the numbers, but him and Shannon Sharp, the numbers are not that far off, and they both got 3 Super Bowls. They both were very impactful in their time. They both was considered the best tight end of their time. You can put it in a box, shake it out, and whoever come out, you won't be wrong. So, but like I said, my preference is Shannon Sharp. I like Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp was that dude back in the day. But let me know what y'all got to say about it.